Hello everybody. How are we today? Let's ease into it because I have a treat for you, and if not, then I have a second treat for you. Let's just ease into it. Today we're going to be either talking with Mr. Frankman from last week, if he ever shows up, which, let me check the Discord to see if he's been pulled in. I do not think so. We do have 4 guests already lined up, so I will be getting them in here, and then we will be full. But before we do such a thing, I will address the title of this video. I found something, or well, Balik, my housemate, introduced me to a thing on Quora, the questioning board, I guess you could call it. You're probably familiar with it. If you've ever had a question that you asked Google, this is usually something that comes up. Thank you to Race Jacobson for the $1 over on Streamlabs. Let me just pull that up to say, Sock'em Bopper Jones. That's an inside joke in the Discord. So that actually beautifully transitions me into mentioning the Discord, which if you would like to call in on these segments when I do Thursday shows and we talk about what the fuck ever, feel free to hit up the Discord, verify yourself, and hop into the either waiting room or the call-in section. It depends on what it is that we're doing that day. You know, if I'm a little bit more lenient with how many people want in, or depends on the discussion that we're having. Today, if Frankman shows up, Round Hammer, Polydub, and Cap and Crab get first dibs at him, because he called them specifically, I believe it was alt-right bitch boys. If he doesn't, then we're gonna have a lovely conversation about how can I convert my husband to cuckolding, ? But before we do that, I also have one more Streamlabs from about 20 hours ago, Duck Dog, who's donated $3 to say Nightwing sucks. So thank you, Duck Dog, but that is provably false. Before we get into everything, and before I bring on my guests, however, I do have some shilling to do. And hopefully it works this time, because it hasn't for the last 2 times. But, we'll see. Alright, everyone say hello to the Gulf City shill.
Oh, Jumpsuit Lou here with a message for all you mooks out there with your faces pressed up against the glass. Sometimes a guy searches the thing to try to find some new cartoons, not be force-fed some old recycled clips from half-assed network shows that are way past their prime.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe.
Unbelievable.
All this Fratascamooch is exactly the same. See, what the Big G don't want yous to know is that you guys could be watching the things that would be making yous laugh. You knows, like Gulf City, the best YouTube cartoon you's never heard of. Listen up, knuckleheads. Go over to youtube.com/Gulf City and subscribe. But don't mention my name. Oh, and if yous click that little bell, you might actually be one of the people who gets notified when new shipments of cartoons come in. And if yous don't, make sure you lock your doors tonight, because you never take sides against the family. youtube.com/Gulf City. Subscribe today, you mooks.
Alright, so, now, without further ado, let me introduce my guests. They can hear you guys now, alright? So we have Round Hammer from last week, and Cap and Crab from last week as well, who you'll probably remember as, joining me on my discussion about Frankman and his shenanigans. And then we also have Robin Hood and Berserker 5150. Everyone say hello to the chat.
Greetings, salutations.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Magnificent, magnificent.
Thank you for having us back.
Well, thank you for coming back. And, like I said, if Frankman shows up, we'll get him on. I'm gonna ask Berserker and Robin to kind of check out for a little bit, just a little bit, because I do want them to have a crack at Frankman without him feeling like he's getting dogpiled on. So, like I said, I will be, or can one of you guys be monitoring the waiting room in the call-in section of the Discord, just so I know if he shows up, because I got like 80 other things that I gotta do. And then let me know if he does.
I have the Discord screen up, so I got an eye open.
Alright, thank you. So, Round Hammer has admitted to me that he's already read through the article that we're going to be pursuing today. I have linked it in the description, as well as in the Discord stream chat, so you can definitely check it out if you feel the need to do so. But I haven't read it yet. And the reason why I haven't read it yet, because I want my take on it to be unique, and I want it to be fresh, and I want
The
to
hottest of hot takes?
I want it to be the hottest of hot takes. It needs to be live that I react to this. Because Balik, my roommate, he told me about it. And he told me like a brief summary of it. But I think that I need to actually experience it for myself in order to get that full experience, you know? So
Wait,
we're going
you mean Balik did something useful for once?
Oh yeah, Balik did something useful for once. Shocker. I know. Anyway. So when I heard about this from Balik, it was an experience, and I got a little bit excited, and I was like, I'm doing a live show about this. So here we are now, ladies and gentlemen. I will be reading it starting now. I need some apple juice. That's what I'm drinking today. It's not pee, I swear. Alright. This was updated November 23rd of 2018. It's got about 20 answers in it. So we're going to see what Quora, the community, has to say about how to convert your husband into a cuckold. For those of you who are unfamiliar, a cuckold is someone who is a man who lets his wife sleep with other men knowingly and is okay with it. Or maybe not okay with it, but is too much of a bitch boy to actually do anything about it.
Yeah,
so
Slate, Salon, and Vox had articles about that. Mm-hmm. What a coinkydink that they all happened at the same time.
I know, right? Alright, so let's get into this. You ask, how to cuckold my husband? What follows are very easy steps that have proven to work time and time again for thousands of women like yourself. You know, I've never asked myself this question, not because I'm not a married woman, but because I have no interest in... That just seems like so much extra work to me.
Well, you don't have to be married. You can be boyfriend, girlfriend.
Well, yeah, of course, but pleasing more than one person, aside from myself, in addition to myself. So, me, plus my significant other, plus some other rando that I don't know, or maybe I do know them well enough to actually want to sleep with them. It's exhausting. It sounds like it would be exhausting.
It's a lot of emotional work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, a former relationship expert. Thank you, Rapier84, for pointing that out.
I think this is evidence as to why they are
former. Yeah, no shit. Alright, confrontation is the first step. You should know that almost every man wants to be cuckolded. Can I get a poll in chat? 1 for every guy who does want to be cuckolded, 2 for those who don't. Thank you. I need to get an idea of exactly what this means. Or, not what this means, but... Oh, wait, I'm not a guy. Robin. You're not a guy.
I had to.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
I want to see if the scope of what this person is aware of is actually reality and not their own delusions. Anyway, Lion Patriot 2, Rapier 2. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of 2s. 2s.
That's a hard
Jacob just said, excuse me.
That's what I thought. You just need to break through his male ego. You hear that, lads? You want to be cuckolded, it's your male ego that's getting in the way. Beneath the surface, your husband will probably wish to submit himself to your dominance. Sorry, I'm getting a kick out of this.
My gut response to that was, how is this any different from a man barging in on his wife, demanding a threesome with the supermodel he saw down at the convention center or something? Or...
Well, okay, so a threesome is different from getting cuckolded in the fact that you're not necessarily having 3 people involved in the sex when you're cuckolding your husband. He's just aware of it. It's not necessarily that he's there joining in, it's that he knows that you're doing it on the side, I believe.
Or he's watching.
Or he's watching, too.
Well, I picked threesome as that is, according to the social zeitgeist, that is the leading male fantasy. So if cuckolding is in theory the leading female fantasy, threesome, it's like, again, I'm not wired that way. I would never ask a woman that I have a relationship with where, oh, I want to do something else, because again, I'm focused on her. It's, again, I'm a bit of a freak. The wiring in my brain did take a few knocks over the years, so that's just me.
For me, it's not my male ego. It's more of my machismo. Like, nah, fam, I'm not about to share my chick with another dude. Another female, that's a different statement.
Well, I guess it would be different. I mean, there is that underlying... I don't know, I'm not a guy, so I don't know what exactly is underlying, but there is that idea that I've heard, the stereotype of, oh, if I'm in any intimate type of situation with another guy, it's perceived as a little bit more homoerotic than not. So, is sharing a woman similar to that, or... I don't know.
I do gotta say that I actually offered my boyfriend when we first started dating to have an open relationship on his side, because I'm not very sexual myself and he is, and so I can't necessarily fulfill his desires, but he said no, so we're not at that, but I did offer it.
Okay. Well, I guess there would be a few reasons as to why this would be the case. I don't know, just from my perspective, I know I would have an issue with my boyfriend coming in and suggesting, hey, threesome?
Yeah.
Just as much as he would have a problem coming in and with me coming in and suggesting, hey, cucking?
Yeah, a lot of people would really know if they're willing to share, which I know the article goes into a little more about that. But yeah, no, you pretty much know without having to try certain things, especially sharing your wife or your husband or significant other. If you're into that, it's not anywhere near or anything like like, hey, you into spanking? Let's try it. No,
yeah, exploring kinks. Technically, cuckolding is like a kink unless you're not like actually physically involved in the cuckolding, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say about that.
All right, well then let's carry on with the rules, because you need rules in a relationship. Which I guess, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But
obviously,
when you're talking about cucking, I guess you do need rules. Your new relationship needs new rules. Make it very clear that if he follows rules, he gets rewarded. If he breaks them, he gets punished. This sounds less like a cuckolding thing and more of like a sub-BDSM type relationship almost, actually, from what I know about kinks. The rules imposed should be designed to remind him of your dominance in the relationship. Yeah, this sounds exactly like that. Start with just a few rules so he can get used to it, and then build them up and up and up. Retroactively applying rules to your sexual relationship with respect to cuckolding seems a little bit I mean, unless it's like, okay, like both sides think that you need rules. If it's only one side that thinks that you need rules, then it's kind of like, I'm being a little bit controlling about this, but if the other person is okay with it, then it's not that big of a deal.
Oh, it gets worse later, a little further on in the article.
Just to address Polydub in chat, damn Weeb, sure I drink in the afternoon, but I'm comfortable with my developing alcoholism. This is apple juice. I just put it in a wine glass because that's the only thing that's clean.
I'm drinking whiskey, so you can call me an alcoholic. It's fine.
But the wine glass makes it look more sophisticated.
It does.
And this is an intellectual discussion.
This is an intellectual discussion. We are discussing the silliness of cuckolding one's husband, or how to cuckold one's husband and have them be okay with it. Alright, a common first time rules are as follows. He must do whatever you tell him. He cannot orgasm without permission. He cannot ask for sexual interactions with you. He must address you as mistress or goddess to show your dominant role. Okay, hang on. No, this has nothing to do with cuckolding. This has everything to do with BDSM. This is more of that broad bondage, dominance, sadism, masochism type relationship, right? So
they are conflating the two issues.
Scribe
should be here. I am not qualified for this discussion.
I feel like Scribe should be here.
I feel like in this situation, with those types of rules, they've taken it from cuckolding to like a threesome with a dominant partner.
I guess.
And there's nothing wrong with dominant female in a relationship. In fact, sometimes it can be quite intriguing.
Yeah.
But this is conflating the two, and kind of muddying the waters, and I guess in an attempt to be like, oh, see, these two things are the same.
I don't know. This sounds like more of a conflation than anything. I am trying to monitor the Discord a little bit too. Okay, so then we go on to manliness. It is your goal to get your husband to gradually relinquish his manliness. Give him a boyish or a feminine name. For example, if he is called Christian, you could rein him to Chrissy or Christine. You should command him to begin wearing female clothing too. He can start by wearing female underwear. Let him know constantly that you no longer view him as a real man, more of a girl. His manhood is too small to make him a real man, therefore you no longer allow him to have sexual relations with you. The most you let him do is, perhaps, perform oral as a woman would.
How is this cuckolding?
This isn't cuckolding. This is,
It's like effeminating your partner.
This is dominating you. Yeah, no, this is emasculating. Emasculating is when you cut off his dick, right?
No.
No,
I
okay.
can't remember the word for it.
I can't
Emasculating.
This
Castrate?
is emasculating?
I think that's when you cut off.
Okay, so this
No,
is...
castration is when he's been neutered.
Okay, but emasculating is the word that you would use then for this.
Right. This is like that sissy sub type stuff, which is really, really big on DeviantArt for some reason.
Oh boy. Well, this is a great time, but this has nothing to do with cuckolding necessarily. Unless this is like the way that you manipulate him to be okay. Okay, hang on.
Like,
maybe
you're, like,
so this is
him to it.
in the deconstruction of his manhood, this is your lead up to posing, hey, can I have sex with other guys?
Yeah.
So
Hey.
this is emotional abuse, in other words.
I guess, yeah, this sounds a lot like emotional abuse, or emotional manipulation at least.
If he's not into it, absolutely. Like, if you have to be like, come on, like, it'll be fun, like, we should definitely do this, and at first he's like, no, but then he says okay, then
Yeah.
I would say that gets iffy, and
It does.
if you keep pushing things on him, that's even more dangerous.
Thank you to Race Jacobson who
Almost
donated. Sorry, hang on. Race Jacobson for $1 says, cucking is only okay when it's the man's idea. If he really wants it, he'll eventually bring it up. Also, the author needs to burn her copy of 50 Shades and get a life. This actually is a little bit better than what I've become familiar with regards to 50 Shades. And Eric Hammer, thank you for the $2 over on Super Chat. Sissification. Okay, so let's go with that. This is like sissification. But I feel like this is more... Let's ease into it. Sorry, Captain Crap, were you, was that Captain Crap or was that Berserker?
No, Berserker. I was basically saying it's almost coercion to an extent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, okay, so let's go on to... Did I finish? Yeah, I did that. Sexual abstinence.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, the UFO answer, for the $2. This isn't... this isn't wine, it's apple juice. This isn't a screwdriver. This is just orange juice. This isn't White Russian. This is chocolate milk. This isn't cocaine. I just have lines of flour on a mirror. Weebo has to get better at lying. I'm not kidding. This is apple juice. I don't know how to prove it to you.
You don't sniffle enough to have a cocaine problem, so you're good there.
Yeah, I don't do drugs, actually. Except for caffeine. Hardcore caffeine.
And Dick Grayson.
That too. Okay, so sexual abstinence is the next thing on the list the author is posing. The greatest power you wield over your husband is your sexuality. When you take sexual relations away from him, he will want it all the more. To make him want it even more, you can dress sexy, work out, act in a more sexual manner, and flirt with other men to remind your husband of your sexuality and his position in the relationship. As rewards for good behavior, you can reward your husband with threats of sexual nature. Threats of a sexual nature, but never allow him penetrative interactions. Or, wait, hang on. As a reward for good behavior, you can reward your husband with threats of a sexual nature, but never allow him penetrative interaction. Threats of a sexual nature. That sounds like a hostile thing. Like, hey, you. If you don't do what, or if you do what I, If you do what I say, I will fuck you up. Or something. I don't know. It sounds rapey. It sounds a little bit rapey. But he'd probably be okay. I don't know. Well, if he's already in this position.
Well, my girlfriend says, you know, if I behave, she will eat my face. So we took that Southern saying and just repurposed it.
Yeah. Oh my god, this is some of the most. I'm so glad I waited. I'm so glad I waited because. Oh god. Ridiculousness. Okay. Let's move on. Strictness. It is imperative for you to be strict. Never weaken your positive by giving in to demands. I think she meant position, but whatever. This is already a shit show. Take away all the things in life that give your husband pleasure and only return some of them when he earns them. And thus, take them away as punishments. Be strict in all your interactions. Do not be afraid to shout at him or put him over your knee for a spanking. You ask yourself how to cuckold my husband. These are the most common steps to doing just that. Okay, but this has nothing to do with this
actually
question.
Cuckolding.
This has nothing to do with actually cuckolding. Thank you, Eric Hammer, for the $5 over on Super Chat. There's a pervasive element of Islam trying to convince American women to sissify their white male partner so as to sleep with black men.
I have a question.
What?
Is this meant to assume that the husband is into it and is fine with all this, or is this just like start doing these things and like hopefully like your husband like gets into it and then you can continue from there? Or is it like, no, you're like, tell your husband this is what is happening and then do it, like don't give him a choice?
I guess we'll see.
The way it reads to me is the guy's not into it. Start doing those first thing, the the confrontation rules and all that.
Yeah.
And then he's supposed to, eventually get into it to get into the later paragraphs. But like that first whole shit, the sissification and all that, and then the lack of sex, that's all just reading like use. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna leave a relationship that, some bitches can tell me to start dressing like a, and I mean, sex isn't the end all be all of every relationship, but when it starts getting into like that, and it's no longer even a romantic, physical, connection, what's the point of a relationship then?
So I'll address Mad Matt in chat. This is not cucking, this is being a dominatrix. It is, but it's more so in a coercive way, because here's the thing, there's no implication that they entered into this agreement from the onset of their relationship. It's just, this is what you do in order to get your husband to be okay with cuckolding. So the idea here is this is how you manipulate him, convert him, and I like what Beer Baron said, coerce him into this kind of a thing. It stinks of emotional manipulation, and it's actually kind of disgusting.
It is flagrant.
I'm not kink shaming necessarily. I'm just saying this reads like manipulation.
It's a little more heavy-handed than just having a dominatrix, because most of that, at the worst, you get your balls stepped on, you get pegged, whatever. This is a lot fucking worse. This is like actual mental fucking. What's the correct word?
I feel like with demasculate, that word, sissifying. The man, I feel like he has to be the one to suggest it, because it's him that's actually doing doing that to himself. He has to be the one to suggest it in the relationship, because having it like brought up, like it can obviously be brought up by the other person, but having it be like, okay, like suddenly like you're doing this, like that to me seems like really, really weird, because then you don't know, like it doesn't even seem like they asked like if the husband wanted to be sissified.
Mm-hmm.
This does read as if it's an issue of where the woman asking this question in this notional scenario, it knows that the husband is not into it. So these are the psyop manipulation tactics to employ.
These are the gay Discord ops you get into to get actually the real thing to happen?
Yes. So this is, in theory, these could be tactics to psychologically break someone down to get what you wanted. Because this reads like a part 1 of a series of exposés on how to do it. But if you flip, again, the shoe on the other foot principle, if you were to do this if a man was to do this to a woman, the torches and pitchforks would be coming out.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think I don't remember reading this, but thank you, Race Jacobson, for the $1 over on Streamlabs. Cuckoldry is not sex slavery. No, it's not. It's an agreement between two parties to engage in this type of behavior, to have an open relationship. This doesn't read like that. So we have a few responses in the Quora section, and we're going to go through a few of them just to see how people have responded, aside from us. Because the people that look for this kind of thing are probably genuinely into having an answer that they can utilize. So, like I said, we're going to look into it to see if we can get an alternative opinion, because I don't think any of us are okay with, polyamory necessarily on that level, or like inherently searching for a polyamorous relationship, right?
I mean,
I know, Robin, you admitted to being okay with it in your case because...
Well, I'm not necessarily, it's not something that I would seek. It's not something that I want in a relationship, but it's something that I realize that it might have to be a part of the relationship if my boyfriend is to remain, happy.
Okay.
So, it's kind of walking the line for it.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily call it, a kink, more so a necessity in your case, because of that need fulfillment dichotomy. But the rest of you,
I'm not wired that way.
Yeah, not wired that way. Cap'n Crab?
Yeah.
Berserker?
No.
I am, but only if it's females.
Oh, that's fair. Alright, well, alright, let's get into some of these responses. Wifita Baguette, updated on April 27th, 2018, so I think this is, when was this? November? Oh, okay, so they did go through this and they updated this after the fact, but I guess, whatever. Did I miss a super chat? No, I read Eric Hammers. Yeah, I don't think I missed any either. Did you send me something, Lion Patriot? Anyway, alright, let's get into it. First things first, you do not need to defeat men in sex. It's already done by nature. You just... Okay, hang on. You do not need to defeat men in sex. It's already done by nature. You just need to mutually settle into it. Most men know and accept that any relationship with a woman finally becomes what the woman wants to make out of it. Yes, the only option men have is to leave, which will get a great... which will be a great option if I would not... which will be a great option if I would not go to a female again, who again would keep me where she wants and needs. That was a really weird sentence to read. Was it just me?
This is not someone whose English is their first language.
That makes sense.
I'm not comprehending.
Thank you, Flying Falcon, for the $5. In all seriousness, why are you discussing this shit? Because I thought it would be an interesting topic to discuss. Not many people talk about it. I mean, we talk about politics all the time. Sexuality is kind of an extent of, the social, political side of what it is that I like to talk about on the channel. Plus, I thought it would be, like I said, an interesting conversation to bring up. Balik, my housemate, gave me this article, and he summarized it for me, and I was like, immediately afterwards, I'm like, we need to discuss this, because this is some shenanigans. I like entertaining ideas from people that I might not agree with, and I like thinking through their things, because here's the thing, how can you know that you are not for something, or that you are against something, unless you've actually looked in depth at what the other side is saying about it? And so here we are, addressing cuckolding. Spinal Tap Tap Teru, Please, I can refuse sex anytime. I'm a strong, independent man. I don't need no woman. Yeah, no, I don't get why people think that men are just like these sex-obsessed fiends who can't handle not having sex with the woman whenever they want. That's not how reality works. I'm sorry.
They always gotta get their dicks out whenever they're craving it.
Apparently that's
all that do?
Men are... Yeah, apparently.
Apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I go 5 weeks without. I'm a trucker.
Yeah.
What nobody... So this thing called self-control and discipline is only... Oh, that's all in my head. Got it. Okay,
yeah, that's all in your head. Race Jacobson, thank you for the $1 over on Super Chat. Weebo is obsessed with sex. Confirmed. I'm not obsessed with sex. This is one of those things that it comes naturally with the conversation in terms of socio-political, all of that jazz. I mean, when you're having a discussion about things that are inherently human, sex is bound to come up. So here we are discussing it. Kinks, sex, what have you.
I would just like to throw in, my dick's always out. I love wearing kilt.
Same, my dick's always out too.
That's a good point.
Alright, so let's...
If your dick's not out with a kilt, then you're doing it wrong.
Exactly. Let's carry on then, gentlemen and Robin. Cuckolding, or otherwise, there are two ways that women can and do have their way with men. Blatantly. Men do not have options and can either go along or leave and settle for dogs, cats, alcohol, strippers, and porn. In your case, you can straight away start saying no to sex. In majority of the world, it is easy, and you have put him into chastity without the mention or acceptance of it. You can even blatantly tell him that you wish to have sex with others, and not with him for now, and maybe once your desire is satiated by others, you will resume sex with him, but not for how. He just doesn't do it for you, and the only way you both can save it is by satiating you like this and not making you go through having to fuck him against your desire, which has only been making matters worse and intolerable, repugnant. Okay, so right there we have, like, men do not have options and can either go along or leave and settle for dogs, cats, alcohol, strippers, and porn. It's almost like the relationships are one-sided.
The woman has all the control over the relationship and the man gets no say.
I'm sorry, but that's not how the world works. I mean, yes, we have a dichotomy, a power dynamic that can be out of whack on occasion, depending on where you are, who you are, the circumstances in your relationship, but I believe the overarching dichotomy is pretty even at the moment. It is what it is right now, as, at least in my case, pretty even-keeled.
To me, it comes off like the writer watched the movie Norbit and thought it was real life.
How much Pornhub have you been occupying in your spare time? This is a really diluted worldview.
Akasha Sharma suggests it's a Hindu name. So, and in the sidebar, there are several questions specifically about Hindu husbands being converted to cuckoldry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if this is possibly specific to India.
It could be
subculture, though though the concept is a universal application, because it's again that's this so-called cuckold porn is becoming more prominent. I don't think it was as out there 10 years ago, but it's just like anal. They gotta push boundaries. They gotta find something new, because eventually people get bored with chocolate and vanilla, so suddenly they have to make snozberry. Wait, correction, snozberry would be good. Disregard. Yeah, no. I mean like dingleberry. That's a better one. They have to make dingleberry.
There you go.
Well, does looking up that specific porn necessarily mean that that's what you want to have happen to you, or is it just I think it's the market ultimately guiding taste, in the sense of if you start seeing something out there that is identified to you as, oh, this is the new in thing. It's just like with the iPhone. Everybody has an iPhone, but when the 6 series came out, the Samsung Galaxy 2, which was 2 years old at that point, was already a superior machine in terms of all its capabilities. But people insist on buying the $800 to $1,000+ iPhone because to them it is a passport to cool.
They're told it's popular. They're told it's awesome. And they do not connect that you are paying for a name and a logo and you're not getting what you're paying for. Because again, I've got an iPhone and you don't.
Okay. Shall we carry on, ladies and gents?
I guess it would be kind of like a cultural inundation to normalize it, to, you know, have it widespread.
This is a very meta conversation we're having.
I mean, before gay marriage... Oh, I'm sorry, please go on.
I was just gonna say that I can say for my relationship, we don't have like a one person dominates. We more like, if like one of us gets in the mood, we ask the other like what they're willing to do, and then we go from there. Like it's not like
it's all on one-sided.
Yeah, like it's not controlled by one person.
And I'd think that most relationships are, in a sense, dual-sided, to varying degree, of course, but very rarely do you ever get a relationship that is exclusively this person making all of the sexual decisions, or this person. And thank you to Race Jacobson for the $1 in Streamlabs. Ooh, I blanked for a sec there. Fun fact, there's cuck porn now that has the wife as the cuck. She watches but doesn't touch. There's gender equality, bitches. Well, yeah, actually, that's another fun story we could get into, the gender equality within the porn industry. Actually, did you know that women make more money in the porn industry than men do?
They do, unless it's gay porn.
Yeah, guys only make more money if they're doing gay porn.
There's also a quote-unquote issue where female porn stars refuse to fuck guys who have done gay porn.
Yeah.
That's
I remember
why
that.
August Ames is dead.
Yes,
don't ask why I know that gay porn pays more.
Oh, no, it's an easy fact that you can look up just whenever.
I mean,
yeah.
Even I know it, I'm a guy.
So, in response to the, like, if you look something up, you want that to happen to you, like that you were saying, like, a minute ago.
Well, no, I was asking that question, is that necessarily the case? I would argue no. I mean, people look up out of morbid curiosity, you know, ISIS beheadings just because they're like, oh, we need to see what's going on. Does that mean that they want to be the person beheading other people or getting beheaded? I don't think so. And I think
played the fifth.
And I think you can translate that into, you know, sexual imagery as well.
Yeah, like I've read a lot because I'm a fan fiction reader. I've read a lot, but that doesn't mean that I'm like interested in it happening to me. It's just interesting to read.
Yeah.
There's also the normalization factor. Since politics is downstream from culture, as the saying goes, if you take note, look how many sitcoms exploded onto the airwaves where suddenly there's a best gay friend or an awesome gay couple.
Yeah. Or that movie Gay Best Friend.
Yeah.
That one too. But where they started promoting it, where they had some really interesting polls taken for like the person on the street type response. And there were some polls that read where some Americans thought as many as 25% of the country identified as homosexual, when it's statistically at or under 3%. But it's the amount of noise and light you focus on a subject can distort obviously common perception, because according to the news, it's all doom and gloom. The world's about to end in 2 seconds from now. You look outside, you go around your neighborhood, people are just doing their thing. Everything's fine. Nothing crazy's going on. I mean, yes, there are issues going on in the world, but not necessarily in the majority of the country. So when you have the so-called gay character archetype, also with those relationships never having any real strife, you know, anything that happens is like goofy type comedy, not tragic type comedy.
Yeah.
You start normalizing it.
Seriously.
And people start normalizing it where, oh, hey, it's not such a bad deal. And then note when they signed it off, where I was not opposed to gay marriage myself, but I also saw it as a very one-sided argument. You have to agree with this point of view, or else you are a bad person. Not willing to accept that, hey, maybe the other side of that debate has a legitimate cause for concern.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we're. Sorry, continue.
Please go on. No, I was summing up.
Okay. I know this is kind of off topic, but since you brought up gay marriage, my family is very religious, and my dad, he's not like a homophobe or anything. He doesn't have an issue with gay marriage or gay couples or anything. But when that was like on the verge of being legalized, he talked about how he wished they could find a different word for it, like not the word marriage.
Oh yes,
because
I agreed with that myself.
Yeah, he thought that marriage was between like a man and a woman, like the Bible said, and then after it was legalized, he was like, oh well, like it's actually like it's not that big of a deal, it's fine. And he never had an issue with
like
it.
The rest of us sometimes. Go ahead.
Yeah, the thing was, the concept of civil union would, I think, win over a lot more people a lot more quickly, because if somebody's effectively kicking in your door, I'm going to take this thing that is yours and has been yours since time immemorial. People are going to respond negatively to that. So, and there were prominent gay community activists who said, we don't actually care about marriage. It's not actually important to us. The only reason we want it legalized is so we can take it away from normal John and Jane Q citizen. And it was used as a psyop tactic to basically hurt people maliciously who as a whole have not done any harm to your community. But it's about power. That's what it's really about. That's why they were trying to normalize pedophilia. Because it's the next step.
Let's not get into that.
Oh boy. So in terms of a lot of the topics of discussion that we could get off into, I do believe that it has a lot to do with that power dynamic, that desire to accrue a little bit more power in your own head is like a way to make yourself feel better or what have you. But we are kind of getting a little bit sidetracked from the main topic of conversation, which I'm okay with, but we do have a time crunch and we have a little bit more to get through, and I think we've talked this dead, or not dead,
Yeah.
But here's the thing: it's a conversation topic that's years after the fact.
It's almost unending.
Huh?
Yes.
Well, yeah, okay. So let's move on to the manipulation part of this. And I like that she actually she brings up exactly the point that we've been trying to make about this whole spiel that's being proposed here and concocted. Manipulation. Start introducing it as a game. Talk dirty about cuckolding, etc., and help him learn to enjoy it rather than the actual act. This comes easier to any and every women. I would inquire as to how exactly, because she goes on for a pretty long time about this, but she barely touches on this.
Manipulation right there.
Why is manipulation a good thing in this sense?
Yeah.
Well,
that's my question about it.
Because it's not immoral or unethical or hurtful when we do it.
As a woman did it.
I mean, human beings do manipulate each other every single day. Not always out of malice, such as if you're trying to broker a deal with someone, you are manipulating them. If a man is trying to win a woman's affections in the very beginning, he is trying to manipulate her. Again, not out of malice, but in terms of, hey, I would like X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And he's trying to win her over.
So, manipulation on its own is not an inherently negative term. It's more of a neutral term. Depending on how you use it, however, it can be perceived as negative or positive, especially if you're manipulating for your own gains and the little gains of someone else. I will agree with you there. But this seems more like malicious manipulation, as in, I am going to manipulate you how I want so that I get what I want out of you. And I'm going to do it to your own detriment, to your own breakdown, your own psychic just collapse, to the point where I have you in the palm of my hand and I can manipulate you however I want you to be. And that seems That's where we cross the threshold from just neutral manipulation into this is abusive. This is an abuse of your power over somebody. You've intended to go at this person in this way to change them in a sense. And that's not conducive of a supportive relationship. That's not something that's going to be successful longer down the line. That's going to fuck somebody up greatly. Yeah.
Joyce Osaro asked, would the guy be able to have sex with other women? No, not in the cuckolding aspect. With the power of this, at least with this article, it's only the female can have sex. Male gets no sex at all from anyone.
Mm-hmm. And I like what Spinal Tap Tap Taru says in chat. Arguments are made to manipulate people to agree with you. My videos are textbook manipulation. They are me taking facts, putting them to words that I have accumulated in my own head to sound funny and sound convincing and to make a point that I think is a good point. And it's graphics that I've accrued as well to make that point, to convince other people that I'm right about this particular fact. That's what my live streams are a lot of the times too. It's just me, you know, putting on a show in order to get you guys to be, you know, to manipulate you into being entertained. It doesn't sound good when I say manipulation, but if I say, oh, I'm trying to get you to laugh, it sounds a little bit better, doesn't it? So like I said, manipulation is a neutral term on its own, but when you apply it in application, depending on what your intention is, that's something that matters. So from here, I guess we should go on to the next paragraph, unless anyone's got a short little thing to add.
Just imagine the outrage that if a male writer wrote the same exact piece from a male perspective.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Wasn't that Roosh V parody article about, you know, a woman agrees by crossing the threshold of a man's home that, you know, she's giving up rights? I mean, isn't that a similar concept, such as, oh, and they came out with they drew the long knives for him, but that was clearly well, not clearly, but it was intended to be a satire. But that you can see, even though they're two radically separate ideas, but the fact that a guy wrote something controversial, offensive, and or in poor taste, they came for him.
Mm-hmm.
In this concept, it would be, you know, oh, that's female empowerment. Well, female empowerment in this context seems to be at the cost of a healthy relationship, ultimately, because I read it as a violation of trust. If the man is not into it and she demands it regardless.
Just to address what's happening in chat right now, please don't spam things because you will be deleted. Thank you. So continuing on, lastly, reminder, either he doesn't want to have sex, in which case he has already been trained and taught to forgo sex without using the word cuckolding chastity by you, or someone else, or he wants to have sex, in which case it's easier to cuckold him or anything for that matter if he really wants to have sex. And either way, all you have to do is start by saying no to sex. Tell him that you just don't want it. Those words themselves will drive it more than halfway across. Lastly, you did not ask whether you should and how serious it may get for him, and I answered because you seem to have already made up your mind you were going to do it to him. You just asked how, and I just answered how. So like I said, the worldview is kind of a little bit fucked, but we've already talked about that excessively. So let's continue on with Sammy Jack, technologist, avid reader, sometimes freakish. And this was updated on February of 23rd, 2018. So this is only a year ago, give or take. Alright, carrying on. The submissive male needs direction. Okay, so I like that they're actually declaring, or Sammy here, Sammy Jack, is going out of his way to specifically address the submissive male, because we know that the submissive male is the one that's going to ask to be cuckolded. It's not the dominant male, obviously. So that distinction is important, because previously there hadn't been a distinction made. It was just blatant, men are this, men are that. So that's, like I said, important. Carrying on though, some surveys have suggested that as many as 2/3 of men have fantasized about being sexually dominated by a woman. Think about it. 66% of wives could take control of their marriage, and yet only 23 do. Erotic power. The combination of sex and authority directly taps into this natural submissive response. Okay. I don't know the statistics on how many men actually want to be dominated by a woman. Does anyone else have those?
As Teal Deer would say, citation needed.
Yeah, I would ask citation needed. And I'm not going to go out of my way to look it up because unless he actually links it in here, then obviously it's not that important to his argument that he support his argument with the evidence that he's using to support his argument.
83.7% of statistics are made up on the spot.
Oh, yeah?
I can only speak of my personal experience on that, which is every once in a while, I don't see why not. Let the role be reversed.
Alright, so let's see. Erotic. No, I already read that. He will become putty in. Wait. I already read. Jesus Christ. I need glasses. Once you learn to tap into that response in the bedroom, you can tap into it any time of the day. He will become putty in your hands. You must work on both his brain and penis, the teasing and the not knowing. What is next plays into how their brains are wired. Their focus there. Wrong use of there. Focus needs to be directed to you and only you. Be verbal, reinforces behavior. Think of it like this. The dog needs to be walked, the cat needs to be fed, and your husband needs time for you each day. You must tell him that what you want him to do each day. He must be taught that the best gratification comes from you, and the more he pleases and obeys you, the better or more frequent that gratification will be. But to start, it has to be done with subtlety. And again, we have that air of manipulation that we've become all too familiar with on this stream. And I'm not going to get into it any more than we already have, because we've already talked about the manipulation. But it's more specific now. The teasing and not knowing aspect. The verbal reinforcement. This kind of reads like they're using psychology. They are using psychology to kind of get what they want. Manipulative tactics that they teach you in your basic social psychology class to get someone to do what you want.
Do you want me to hop out so Jay Willie could hop in?
Jay Willie, do you want on? You just hop in and I can get... Yeah. Would you mind, Robin?
He's in the waiting room.
Okay,
yeah,
I see. And then we can get Rapier on as well if you have something to add. Alright. I'm just gonna bump you out. Nope, wrong person. She already left. Alright, let's get Jay Willie in.
Hop out if Raver to get in.
Hey, Jay Willie.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We can alternate.
Hello,
between
Mr.
people.
J.
There we go.
Hi.
I'll hop out so Rapier can come in.
Alright, cool. Yeah, we can rotate people. It doesn't look like Frankman is gonna show up. Fine.
That's technically true.
Yeah. I haven't seen him. You guys haven't seen him show up yet?
Not yet.
No.
And he has not appeared in the show chat either.
Alright.
I think the Rapier. Oh, yeah.
Hello, Mr. Rapier. Can you hear us?
No, I tried to talk to him before he couldn't hear us.
Oh.
He's rating his mic is down.
Oh, okay. No mic. Then I will put you back in the waiting room. Sorry about that. Yeah, when you figure that out, let me know. And I can... Robin, if you want to hop back in. Or Cap and Crab, if you want to hop back in as well. Oh, he found it. Alright. Let me know when he's back in and we'll continue reading this. So, we get on to confidence. Yes, you can learn how to handle your husband. Okay. Hang on. You can learn how to handle your husband.
That statement.
That sounds like you're
malicious.
Okay, so yeah, you have to be able to determine what's malicious language versus what's not malicious language. And in this case, dehumanizing a person in an effort to manipulate them does sound, or just talking about this in a sense that dehumanizes another person in order to manipulate them into doing something that you want them to do does sound really, really mean. Mean, but it does sound malicious. It does sound negative. This is very negative language, and it's intended to be negative. Otherwise, you know, it wouldn't be in this Quora answer that's obviously been well thought out in an effort to explain and give a step-by-step indicator of how to cuckold your husband. So, it's intentional negative language. I'm sorry, but you're not going to convince a lot of people, you know, who are doing it with the intent that, oh, we agree on these steps to take in our relationship. You're not going to convince a lot of people of that nature. You're going to convince a lot more maliciously inclined people with that. And we just spent a whole bunch of time on just the handling portion of this. We're not even that far into the confidence bit of this.
Interestingly enough, I read that first sentence. The gut reaction to that was I was thinking when, example, a new couple, you know, honeymoon phases, how to live as a team. So communication, getting out what you want for the other person, what you need from them in kind, and so on. I try to look at things with a neutral bend as much as possible. But the context obviously is key.
Just imagine if somebody were to say how to handle your wife. People would freak out, right? But now, for suddenly, it's all fair and game, according to a lot of people, which is weird to me. But I guess I understand why.
To address those newbies in the chat who haven't been here since the onset of this stream, we are discussing a Quora article that is essentially a guidebook on how to convert your husband to a cuckold. Lots of manipulation tactics, lots of breaking down of the human psyche, lots of dehumanizing. Thus far, you can follow along if you'd like. There is a link to this in the description. Irate prostate, this shit could be a huge troll. Irate, anything can be a huge troll on the internet. If you go through your entire existence thinking that everyone who does anything outrageous beyond the scope of what you think is possible for a person to actually argue or put forward, you're not gonna have a lot of entertaining times. No. I choose to assume that everyone is being genuine until given, you know, something so outrageous that I just cannot believe the genuineness of their statement. But we've dwelled too long. Let's carry on, gentlemen. Don't worry if you lack confidence in the beginning. You can take small steps to find your way. Your confidence will grow with positive results. Do not confuse your initial lack of confidence with a lack of commitment. Be committed and find your way to fulfilling that commitment. Age is not a factor. Weight is not a factor. Beauty is not a factor. These things are simply not relevant. Actually, they are. But I digress. Sexual attraction is 90% mental, only 10% physical. Is it? Is it, though? Where are you getting that statistic? I would require a citation in order to believe you on that.
I'm just going to throw this in as a male. If I see fucking, I don't know, Anita Sarkeesian, it doesn't, the soldier doesn't come to attention on his own. But if, say, Gal Gadot, my soldier will come to attention on his own. That's a physical reaction before a mental one.
But, okay, so the 90% mental, 10% physical statistic, I feel like he's pulling that out of his ass, because I would argue that ratio is different for each and every individual person. Like, yes, a lot of my attraction to my boyfriend is about the mental, because we get along so well and he makes me laugh. But at the same time, there is a physical aspect to it. I am attracted to him, not just because he makes me laugh, but I was attracted to him before because he's kind of hot and looks like Nightwing. But I digress, sorry.
Well, everyone's allowed to have a preference for the outer package. It's when you get to engage with that person. Hey, this person I find attractive for reason X. Now I'm talking with them. Ooh, they have character traits and qualities that I find appealing and or, you know, interesting. There's also the alternative where statistically Paris Hilton is a very attractive woman. I see her as a hideous piece of thing. Trademark. So, but the reason is it's because what's on the inside bubbles to the outside, and she's vapid, shallow, has no concept of the idea that other human beings are actual people.
Yeah.
And that spoiled child thing, which you're now seeing with the California college scandal. Oh, you know, pretty people sometimes make the ugliest monsters.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to do. I was just going to say, like, it's the physical attraction that made you first break the ice. It was then a mental attraction that made you go, oh, you know what, I can actually date this person. We can be around each other for a long time.
Yeah, that's actually true, because there is, when you brought to use the physical attraction, which is important though, then you also have to get the attraction to the personality. Also, right? For example, if I were to like have a partner in GG, right, and then I find out my partner was a Democrat, then it wouldn't work anymore. For example, because that just wouldn't work for me.
Warm up the helicopters.
Yeah.
What?
Warm up the helicopters.
I think that's fun. I just can't get it.
Okay, sidetrack. Thank you, The Price is Right review for the $10 over on Super Chat. The hypergamous drama. Hypergamous drama like this is why MGTOW exists, among other things. Third wave feminists weaponize.
Yeah.
And that's the notification. Hashtag MeToo to destroy men who are falsely accused, i.e. Brett Kavanaugh. Just my honest take on this BS. And you know what? I would actually really like to get, I think the One Ton Hammer is my resident MGTOW friendo. I would like to get his perspective on this as well, maybe. Or just his perspective in general. I'd like to interview him at some point. Not interview, but necessarily, like, we'd have a discussion about stuff. Because, I don't know, the MGTOW ideology is something that my dad's kind of into right now. Not in the sense like, oh, I hate women, but in the sense like, oh, I don't see myself ever getting married again, never having kids again. I've already done that twice, in the sense that he's already had kids twice, he's already been married twice, divorced twice, gone through hell twice. So I think he's ready to just kind of go his own way in that sense. And I don't know, it would be an interesting discussion.
That's not necessarily MGTOW. Like, for the most part, MGTOWs are similar to incels, where they're either people who can only get in shitty relationships or can't even get in their foot in the door to a relationship. Therefore, they're now bitter.
So
at least
that's
a vast majority of the vocal ones, at least.
So we're confusing vocality with majority, and I would argue that the majority of people wouldn't be that extreme. It's the it's the very vocal minority of people who you hear a lot about because they are louder than the average person. In that sense, like, I wouldn't argue that most Democrats are raving, screaming, blue-haired feminist types, right? I would argue that most Democrats are normal people, just like I wouldn't argue that Republicans are, you know, gun-toting, Hunter Avalon, Bible-thumping, you know, anti-gay marriagists.
Oh,
if that's an actual word. They're normal people, generally speaking. It's just you hear more about the crazy people who make the news because their crazy antics make the news. Their crazy antics are more popular to watch because it's insane. You wouldn't do that. Someone else is giving you that entertainment factor. And then thank you, Cap and Crap, for the $2. Weebo chorused me out of my dollars by being great. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll stop. But yeah, okay, so we've sidetracked from the main point. Yes, MGTOW. Completely separate discussion that we should totally have at some point.
What?
I said we should have a discussion about MGTOW sometime.
Oh, that's really true. That's very true, because I really want that.
Mm-hmm. And Cap and Crap, I'm bringing you back on. Sorry you had to jump off, but Rapier cannot find his mic, so we will not be rotating very much. Alright, to continue on. You will be surprised by how unimportant conventional standards of beauty are. You don't need to be a beauty queen to be a sex goddess. It's all about how you act, not how you look. Here I would argue that confidence is, like, a lot of what it is that makes people more attractive than not. I know that the moment I started I made a conscious effort to be a more confident woman in myself and not be as like, woe is me, cry. Because I went through a really pathetic phase before I hit my current one in, like, middle school, because I was coming fresh out of, like, puberty and elementary school, and a lot of shit was, I was coming from a lot of shit, alright? So my esteem was shot to all hell, but I made a conscious effort to be more confident, to be a more, like, engaging person, to be less unpleasant for myself and for others, and it worked. I started, you know, accruing a little bit better relationships. People wanted to actually interact with me, so it does take a personal adjustment to actually make a difference in your social life. I will say that. Thank you, The Price is Right review, for the $20 over on Super Chat. I'm also a MGTOW as well. MGTOW has different levels when it comes to women interaction. Me personally, I don't hate women. It's more I don't trust a lot of women because of the above mentioned things. Well, yeah, of course. I have no trouble sympathizing with a lot of MGTOWs because I watched my dad go through that exact kind of shenanigans with my own mother. And then, you know, my opinion of relationships has been colored by that, to say the least. So I know that I will forever never be able to share a bank account with my boyfriend when we do get married. I will never be able to. If we have arguments or what have you, just there are little things about relationships that I'm a little bit more different, a little bit more abnormal about when it comes to them with regards to what my unconventional. Thank you. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for.
Experience is what guides confidence. The only way a person can truly gain confidence when interacting with other people is by living with them in various forms, whether it's semi-adversarial, such as, oh, I'm trying to get what I want from this person, or collaborative, where, oh, hey, we have a team project to get done, here's how we delegate responsibility, put all the specialists on where their talents will work best, cross-train, etc. So, you know, I mean, First round of live ammunition I ever fired in my life was Fort Benning, Georgia.
Yeah.
Now I could take a man's head off at 1,000 yards.
Nice.
Also, confidence has to do with body language and the way they talk. That's a lot of how people find confidence attractive. You have to put it off in order for people to fully receive it. Because if you're just standing there, your chin down, you're slumped over, a lot of times people aren't going to walk up to you and talk to you.
Yeah,
but if you hold your chin up, your proper posture, people are like, oh, hey, I'm going to talk to that.
Yeah, a lot of confidence is not just in the way that you talk as much as it's in the way that you conduct yourself, the way that you hold yourself. So if I make eye contact with the camera, that means that I'm more confident with my ability to have a conversation with the camera. If I am, you know, more open with my body posture, if I'm a little bit straighter, I have a very signature walk, actually. You guys don't get to see it because I don't do a lot of walking things that require me to actually be on camera walking. But I have a very distinct walk. Balik has commented about how he can hear me coming down the hall from a mile away because I have a very distinct foot pattern, apparently. But the walk, the way that you walk is a lot to do with it. The way that you hold yourself, the way that you hold your head, the way that you use your eyes visually when you're in a conversation with somebody, the way that perhaps you might speak if you're a little bit louder, if you can laugh a little bit louder, if you can make jokes at your own expense as well as at others' expense, and you don't seem uncertain about the way that you conduct yourself. That's important. That's like Weebo's crash course in how to be a more confident person. So I hope I've helped you this fine day, and we have a little bit more of an understanding of ourselves. But okay, we are sidetracking again.
Like even in fighting, we're told to be confident. That necessarily isn't talking shit, you know, all that. That's not being confident as a fighter. It's your body language.
Yeah.
Every movement should have a point. No wasted movement. The way you hold your hands, the way you move left and right, it should always. Your chest should always be big, basically. Like puff your chest out. You're peacocking, kind of like the dominant wolf in the pack. How his tail's up, his head's held high, he bares his teeth. That confidence has to do with a lot. Even if you're not confident, if you can fucking fake that shit, people will still think you're confident.
Yeah. Okay, and like I said, we are getting a little bit...
Like that.
Sorry?
I usually fake things like that because when people talk to me, they usually assume that I'm very like brave and confident because how openly I talk to people and how secure I seem to be. But I'm actually not like that at all. It just appears like that when I talk.
Well, you can a conscious effort. It does denote an air of confidence as well. I mean, faking it till you're making it, sure, yeah, but it has little to do with anything. It goes without saying. You can't really tell necessarily if someone's faking confidence or not. If they're doing it, it makes all the difference. If they are being confident, or if they are confident, or they're not confident but they're faking it, it doesn't matter. They are appearing confident because that's the facade you're trying to put on, regardless if it's legit or not. All right, and I'm gonna answer this one last super chat, and then we're gonna move on. The Price is Right review, $5, says, my last say on this is check out Sandman. He's a huge MGTOW YouTube channel if you want to know the mindset of MGTOW as a lifestyle for men. Now that would be interesting. I think I have heard of Sandman before.
He's obsessed with artificial wombs.
Artificial wombs
for human reproduction. The concept of artificial gestation. I can tell you this, my read on that is that men are not interested in children by default. Again, my strictly personal opinion. They want the women who love them enough to want children. Because I like kids, but I wouldn't want one by myself if I didn't have someone with me.
I would argue... that would be probably more of a personal experience, because from my own personal experience with my own mother, she was not someone who was meant to have kids. She definitely does not revel in the idea of raising children. If she did, she probably wouldn't have abandoned all three of her children at different points in their life. My father, on the other hand, and my sister's father as well, are both very attentive, very caring, very loving, very cherishing fathers who revel in the idea of raising kids and being there for them, and you know, they enjoy that experience wholeheartedly, despite its ups and downs.
I didn't mean without a relationship. I meant a guy just having a child without a woman involved at all. The idea of it. For me, I know I wouldn't do a good enough job. I'd botch it. You know, despite best efforts, it's for me. I need the team effort where, hey, she knows it from her angle, I know it from our angle. We approach that same problem from those two angles, and it'll get solved in half the time.
Yeah, but so to argue that most men aren't in favor of reproduction, even if there is no, you know, other person to help you out teamwork-wise, it kind of denies that idea of. And it's been brought up in the chat, the idea of that drive, that instinctual desire to carry on your genes, to further your lineage. That's, if you want to get really, really evolutionary about it, that's the whole purpose of life, is to reproduce and recreate and make the next generation better. Right?
Yeah, this is very true. Like, for example, the reason why I don't want to leave, I don't want to leave South Africa is because here, I actually have the right as a single guy to hire a woman to have kids for me, and legally speaking, the kids only belong to me, and it's perfect law and it's really protected. So I'm gonna do that, and it's very cheap actually. It's far more cheaper than any other place in the world, and you don't even need to have like a wife or a woman at all. I'm just gonna do it on my own.
Yeah. Now
so it's going to be awesome.
I will say this. The most ideal situation of any situation is the nuclear family model. That's a man, a woman raising their child together.
That's how
because you need those elements. You need both of those elements. Sure, if we could get all of the little abandoned foster kids in foster systems adopted to any parent model, any nuclear or any family model, that'd be fantastic. And you know, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but from my own personal experience, I would have liked to have that mother figure in my life who was that supportive person that, you know, I could always go and talk to. I know that my life would be a lot more different had I had both options. But I'm also saying at the same time that men do want to have kids. It's ideal that there is a woman involved in that process somehow, some way. But in the event that you accidentally have a kid with another woman and she doesn't want it, but maybe the dad does, because there are cases of men who would rather have their child, their fetus, you know, reach full gestation instead of being aborted by the woman, you know, because there are instances where that does happen. I think that an artificial womb, because this is where the conversation stemmed from, I think that an artificial womb would be a fantastic addition to the medical field, just so that we could give people that option, so that we don't have to, one, kill babies, because I don't like it happening, but let's not kid ourselves. It might happen. It will happen. But also, you know, so that we have that extra option in case we need to incubate babies in artificial wombs. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Personally, I think it's a very slippery slope. It's just like the entire concept of CRISPR. It could be used for good, but it also could be used for a very, very alarming amount of bad. It's just a, is it worth it kind of thing in the end. But also, I've personally firsthand seen high school teenage dads raise their kids. Like, I know my friend Jacob had 2 kids by the time he was in 11th grade in high school. Worked 2 jobs on top of going to high school and then later going to college.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he did that was he had a tribe. He had his mother, his grandmother.
Oh yeah.
His father was locked up, but he had his father's mother. He had cousins, nieces, nephews, sisters. Like, if you don't have a significant other in the relationship, you don't need one. You could have a female influence from family.
Oh yeah, and I definitely got that from my dad has a sister. She was a pivotal person in my life, that surrogate mother figure type. A lot of other females that I've had, that I've interacted with, do act as surrogate mothers in that respect. People I can go to for advice or just to rant or what have you. Those are godsends. I don't know what I would have done without them. Probably driven myself insane, because my dad doesn't have all of the answers, obviously. It's unfortunate, but it is the case. It does take a village. It does take a village.
Like, my male influences come from family members, my best friends' dads, their uncles, older brothers, coaches in sports and combat sport. Like, that's where my male influence comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Also, partly to professional wrestling, which is why I tend to have verbal judo matches with people. That's the point.
Yeah. Okay.
But one thing is important to notice. It has been proven that it is way better to have a mother and a father is the most ideal situation. But comparing children raised with one dad to children raised with one mother, it is overwhelmingly better for children to be raised with one dad than with one mother.
Yes, agreed. You need that father figure in the life of the child. The statistics have shown that single-parent households where it's just a mom are significantly negatively impacted by the reality of what that entails. That's they overwhelmingly commit more suicides than double-parent households or just households with a father involved in general. They get pregnant. They get into that harsh criminal life as well. There's a whole list of statistics that I could cite for you on the matter, like not like verbatim, but people are better off with a dad than with just a mom.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've seen that firsthand. Also, in one of his Change My Mind segments, Steven Crowder was talking to a black dude who said, like, my father wasn't around, and when my mother's brothers were there, I tightened up, because that was the only time I had the male influence.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it firsthand. It happened to me for a fair bit. I won't get into shady shit, because incrimination, but yeah, like, I've had friends who grew up in the hood that had moms and dads who didn't get into the street shit. They minded their P's and Q's, made sure they had all their grades in order, all that kind of shit, and they're still not in the street life. I have best friends who are in prison for murder, and one guy for multiple accounts of murder, and he didn't have his dad. His dad was in prison because he killed a guy with an axe.
Thank you to Thomas Colter in the chat for this $2. Artificial wombs plus genetic engineered babies equals good.
Genetically engineering.
That's a whole separate issue. I don't even want to talk about that at the moment.
Neither do I. It's too big. It would take an hour. So.
Well, we don't even have an hour. We have 40 minutes. So
I have that in my science fiction. It's for good. It's also for bad.
Okay. So without addressing the rest of that, I think we can. Let's just skim the rest of this. Not the rest of it, but I think we kind of already get the confidence aspect. We've talked that to death. So let's go on to how do you get your husband to do what I say? Ask him nicely, maybe. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how far please will get you in civil Western society.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised at what a male will get accomplished for the promise of a steak and suck.
Exactly. Sorry, but it's the truth. Sometimes you just gotta use that negotiating power. You must train yourself to be sexually independent if you want to control your husband. I'm sorry, are people not automatically sexually independent? Do they need someone else to help them with that? Like, is that just a natural thing? What does that mean?
I think I know what it means.
Hang on. We gotta keep reading. Don't answer it yet. She might answer it for us.
No, she's not going to say it. I know.
She's gonna say it?
No, she's not. So that's why I wanted to.
Alright, fine, go ahead. Say it.
If the thing I meant is that if people never get like physical contact with somebody they are like attracted to, then they will build up a huge sexual frustration, right? But if they have memories of being with someone they're attracted to physically, and if they are that sometimes, not very often, used to rare occasions, then that would actually relieve them of their frustration, and therefore they could, sorry for saying this, but then they can use masturbate on their own the rest of their life and still baby. As long as they have some experience with someone they're attracted to, then most of us are going to manage that to be sexually independent. But without experience, it's going to be next to impossible for us to be satisfied with that. Unless you're asexual, but yeah, that's the only exception I can think of.
Okay.
Bitches.
So, Robin, you want to address what you talked about in the chat? Because I saw your comment. You said a woman doesn't know how to make herself orgasm?
No, I don't want to address that. I was kidding.
Okay.
I don't want to address that.
I mean, you're not entirely wrong.
Yeah, it's a lot.
They don't teach you about women's sexuality in sex ed. I'm sorry, but they don't.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to learn.
A guy can just pull it out and rub one out, and he's fine. A girl has to kind of explore and understand what type of things work for her, and have to, like, it. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Well, no, actually, I want to ask the panel, gentlemen, was it that hard to figure it out?
And obviously not. It's one of those things where if you just look at the machinery, the male equipment is far more simple in design and construction than the female counterpart. I mean, the female counterpart is tragically rather complex, but I've seen on any number of those really good documentaries on the concept of human evolution, where back in our cave days when we were all cave Chads and cave Beckys, right? The male that could please his female, in terms of that context, where even if you didn't have language to describe it, he could fully satisfy her, therefore she would be loyal to him. And also, evolutionarily speaking, the female orgasm is an aid in conception just from the mechanical process. And guess what? You have a stronger pair bond because of oxytocin and other hormones released during the act, and also that African proverb, for a mother it's a baby, for a father it's a maybe, or at least that's what the internet told me. So it means
I've
it's probably
never
not
heard
true.
that before. So
it's only African American.
Yeah.
Well, the issue is
so short answer: the mechanics are simpler for men than they are women.
Yes.
You just gotta
okay. That's
the guy who
literally all
can
I
figure
needed
out how
to
to
know.
work the machinery,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to make her very happy, and she's probably going to stick around.
Okay, cool.
He has to know the correct motion to the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, there's not just one motion that does it. You need to know. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, no, we gotta move on.
This is a topic for another time, I'm
This
sure.
is another topic for another time. We're just going all in. Okay, so she answers her question, or she answers this by saying, much like a well-trained pet, wow, more dehumanization, that is happy because he has rules to follow and boundaries to keep him under control. A submissive man will only be truly happy when he is being obedient. Obedience pleases his wife, and when she is pleased, he is satisfied and calm. Submissive men are proud of the service and devotion they can bring to their dominant females, and this pride lends to a sense of overall happiness and bliss. Correctly obeying orders and receiving praise for a job well done are forms of love and respect for him, and are emotions he dearly craves. So this sounds really demeaning, but okay, hang on. I'm gonna say that take away the demeaning bits, and I know that my dad likes it when he gets acknowledgement for doing something for me that, you know, is helpful. So if that means, you know, fixing my car and changing the oil on it, you know, he likes doing that stuff because, hey, I'm helping out, you know, the woman in my life. She needs me. Help her. Or like when he goes over to his mom's house, my nana, you know, and cleans her gutters, he's like, this is fulfilling to me because they need me, their man in their life. So it's not out of necessarily submissiveness so much as just they like helping. They like being needed.
I do have to say that recently there was a study that I found, and I can't remember it off of the top of the head, but there was like some truth behind the happy wife, happy life, where if a husband does get it, I don't know how to put this in a way that doesn't piss people off. Happy wife, if they get recognition for what they do when they do something for the family or for the wife, they're generally happier. Yeah.
But it's not out of obedience so much as it's just, I'm needed. I am their Superman type.
It's not a submissive trait. It's something that every person kind of likes. I mean, they like to feel validated.
I wouldn't say validated, just needed in general. Like they have a purpose beyond, you know, being a sex object.
Sorry,
to mansplain this a little bit, for me personally, if there is a significant other in the relationship and it's female, making her happy tends to make me happy just as a sheer fact of, holy shit, I actually just accomplished something. Like I made her laugh. She's feeling a lot better than she did before. For some fucking reason, that does something mentally to me. I cannot explain it. It just happens.
Yeah. And Chet, is this the case? Like for you, is this your experience? Are we hitting on something that is truthful? Let me know, because I'm not 100% sure about it. I just know from my own experience, like with my dad, he likes doing things for the women in his life, and my boyfriend certainly likes helping out as well. Thank you to Yufio Answer for the $2. Yeah, women should high five their men after sex for a job well done. Hey, I do that. All right.
Hey, and it's our job to ask if she wants some juice.
Yeah. There are levels of complexity in every relationship. Surely this isn't a mystery. Plenty of men and women both like to find purpose in helping their loved ones. Evo Moif. Yeah, no, that's essentially what we're saying. Women feel the desire to make their men happy as well. I mean, it's part of that dichotomy. It's part of that give and take, push and pull. Like, oh, this is how the relationship is supposed to work. It's not just one-sided, and it's certainly not just about getting what you want out of the other person. It's a dynamic.
I will also say that, so from both my dad and my boyfriend, my dad likes it when we clean around the house and he comes home to a clean house, because then he feels like he's being listened to and he's being, like, appreciated because we're thinking of him enough to clean. So it's kind of like there's different ways to be happy from like having a family or having like a significant other. Not just like, oh, if I make her happy, I'm happy. It's also like if she does something when thinking about me, then that makes me happy too.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I saw it Rapier in the chat. He's like, Weebs is making me miss my dad. I miss my dad too. I was supposed to call him this week in the middle of the week because I call him on Sundays every Sunday, but I gotta call him again later this week because we gotta, you know, hash out times and stuff. Oh, by the way, the last week of March, I will not be doing a live stream because I will be home. So that means that I will not be at my current rig right here. So we will not be doing the Thursday show. To make up for it, however, the next Thursday show, we will be celebrating my birthday with a roast.
I've never met my dad, so there's that.
Oof.
But to piggyback on one thing that the article mentioned earlier, actually I have air quotations, friend. Teasing is a thing that she's into. I fucking love it too. It's fun. I never know what the fuck I'm getting when I see a message pop up. That's not a way of manipulation. And if you're using it as a way to manipulate, you're kind of a shitty fucking human.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, teasing is all fun and games, but if you're like, oh, like, look at this. Now, you'll never see it for the next, like, 3 weeks, and you can never touch it either. Like, that's when it's, like, leaving you with blue balls.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like, I would honestly say that not all types of teasing, but to a certain extent, teasing can actually be abusive.
Yeah.
Use my opinion.
We touched on that.
Not all the time, but a lot of the time, teasing can actually be very abusive.
I wouldn't say a lot of the time. It really depends on the circumstances and the agreement that you're in with said person. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is contingent upon the individual circumstances surrounding the relationship. But the language that they're using in this is indicative of, you know, a general sense and is a little bit dehumanizing. And like I said, speaks of manipulation. So it's different. I thought Magog was Weebo's dad. No, Magog is not my father. I don't think he's old enough to be my dad. I'm almost 21. No. And Magog is how old?
He's definitely... No, he's... Jeremy's 33, he said.
Yeah, so that would make him...
correction, he's 330. Magog is 333.
Oh, of course, yes.
So,
yeah,
anything's possible when it's Magog.
Yeah. Michael Hatfield, I am an Aries, so do with that what you will.
Question. Is the author female or male?
This author is Sammy Jack, so I'm assuming male, maybe?
Male.
If it's a male, it could just be that they're parodying what the female in their own relationship did and or told them in an effort to be like, oh, it's completely fucking normal, see?
Oh, wow. There's a lot. This guy has a lot. We've got hygiene, chastity devices, humiliation, the scent, oral sex, masturbation.
I saw about hair.
Yeah, I saw that. Body hair, clothed female and naked male, domestic housework. This is a lot of stuff.
That sounds like an abusive relationship to me.
Not necessarily, because we haven't actually gotten into the bigger context of what they're saying, but this is a lot for cuckolding. By the way, this is how to get your husband to be okay with cuckolding. So this is a lot of shit, man.
I feel like this should be more towards like an intense like.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm cutting in. 17, mind you, eating sperm.
Oh hell.
We're gonna look into this.
I have a question about that now.
No, hang on. We gotta read this. Much has been written on this topic. This is my take on it. Straight men have been programmed that the bitch sucks cock and swallows. Guys who swallow sperm are gay. Your husband is not gay. He is not even bi. He is a sexual submissive. He will eat sperm or suck a dick. Gay things in his head to please the love of his life. So it's very important that he becomes the bitch. Husbands are naturally more attractive to their wives when they are aroused and excited. There is much you can do to maintain your husband in a state of arousal and excite, but such excitement is in anticipation of sexual satisfaction. Once the satisfaction is achieved, his attention to you will tend to fall off for a while. This is just natural. Promises are useful because they bind your husband at one time to perform at another time. In particular, the husband can make a promise when he's aroused to perform. Okay, now we're not talking about swallowing sperm. Okay, the goal is that after his orgasms, his love and affection for you is more important than how he feels about eating sperm. You need to break out your best mom voice.
This is getting really
He has to call you mommy.
Hang on. Break out your best mom voice. Now, son, eat your
When did
sperm.
Modern Medusa start writing this?
Hang on. I'm about to do a thing. Now, sonny boy, eat the rest of your sperm and you'll grow big and strong.
God. Please never again, Weebo.
Tell him what you expect him to do. Don't wimp out. Son, you need sperm. You need sperm to be big and strong. It's for your bones.
You need sperm not to be gay. You gotta eat it.
I have a question.
He needs it.
No, that's not it. Since this is pertaining to cuckolding, and this particular bit is eating sperm, does that mean after the dude cream pies the old lady, homeboy's gotta go eat that shit out? Or
Exactly. It's not his.
I have another question. What about snowballing?
What's snowballing? Do I want to know?
Okay.
Yeah,
when
that's kinda gross.
It's when a girl sucks a guy's dick and she keeps the sperm in her mouth, and then when she kisses the
Stop
guy,
it! Stop it! Right down! Stop it! Cease! No more! No.
You know, Kevin Smith only just made that up for the movie, so and then suddenly it's a thing.
All right, pause. Eric Hammer, thank you for the
about
$2. I was gonna pop in, but Discord link expired. I just posted a new Discord link. It does that sometimes. I'm sorry. And Dova Kun for 20 and okay. Weebo, please no. Jeremy, eat your sperm. All right, you're gonna be a big, strong boy.
But my
Actually,
In this case, that's not what they want.
Wait. Another question. Does this mean that, like, the dude gets close to finishing, and then, like, homeboy's got to get on his hands and knees and take the money shot, or how does this fucking work?
I don't fucking know. Like,
I'm sure there are porn plots that follow that.
Do it into a cup and then drink it, or what? Is it?
No.
You just try? Are you just squirting it up and then you're catching it in your mouth? How does this work? The semantics are important here. All right, I need to know.
So, he's okay. So I figured it out. He's fucking the girl, and then right when he's about to come, he pulls out of the girl, and the husband comes and takes it into his mouth. That's what it is.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay,
So it's
but
not
what if
his
there's
own
more
sperm.
than one guy involved? Does it mean he's got to take all of them?
Is it better or is it worse if it's your own
don't know.
sperm or someone else's?
No.
It can only get worse.
The correct answer is suicide.
Suicide.
No,
I like
suicide
that we.
by proxy.
Is it cannibalism if you eat your own sperm?
well,
See, I've had this conversation with many of females at cannibalism since you're ingesting human DNA, and that we've come to the conclusion that it is not.
Okay,
No,
But if you're
it,
eating your own, it's just fucking weird.
Yeah.
I just need to say something very important in regard to this. Okay, this is really important.
okay.
There is a culture in Papua New Guinea or
Yes.
in nowhere there.
I know about these
where
guys.
God damn it, not this story.
they are forced when they are like, in order to become a man, they have to drink a certain amount of sperm in order to be considered a man, and then they're going to cut up their dicks.
Mhm.
No, before they cut up their dick, they do it to guys when they're that age, and then grown men that have their dicks cut up are going to be penetrated by young boys in the age of 6, 7, 8.
Oh, I
after they
remember
drink
that.
sperm,
Mhm. This
in
is
order
a
to
cultural
become
thing.
considered men.
I recall this.
Remember, all cultures are equally valuable.
It's also the same culture that eats they're fucking dead.
Yeah,
So keep-
remember, children, all cultures are created equal. We cannot judge them for anything. Thank you, Dova Kun, for the 20. And okay, this live stream needs a safe word, and I could not agree anymore. Let's make it pineapples. And then there was one more thing that I wanted
But you
to...
want Drunk
Immediately
and Uncle to show
pineapples.
up?
That's true.
Wait, hold on. If the guy who's gotten to drink, if he has to drink the sperm, at least make the dude that he has to drink, whose sperm he's drinking, at least drink a lot of pineapple.
Or I think the other one is grapefruit. That changes it.
Okay. Well, no, I think everyone already knows this, but I have a very important question, all right?
Yes.
Is the sperm vegan appropriate?
Oh God.
That's a great question. Let me Google that.
Hang on, I gotta ask Vegan Gains at Vegan Gains.
I gotta
Strictly
say.
speaking, I would have to say no because it is an animal-produced
Well,
compound.
okay. I'm gonna say yes because it's from a human being and not from like an animal. Because hopefully you're not drinking animal sperm.
Humans are animals, though.
Oh
Well,
my god,
yeah,
this is an
but it's
actual
our
fucking thing.
species.
I googled that, and I have Metro UK. I have the first one that pops up is Men's Health.
Oh,
And a PETA article.
of course.
Read the PETA article. Wait, no, send it to me, actually. Send it to me in the stream chat. I'll pull it up. And Polydub over in the chat says, this conversation, oh man, I've been here the whole time and I still have no idea how it got here. Low-key, same. I don't know how it got here either.
Because I came in. We started talking about sperm when I came in.
No, it's because I scrolled down through this guy's long-winded fucking 17-part plan to get your husband a cuckold. Yep. That's how we got here. And it's entirely my fault. It's entirely my fault.
The picture is vegans do it better.
Vegans do it better. Oh god.
I don't know. Like I've heard some fucking stories about guys eating like elk and shit and just fucking going at it.
Hang on, we gotta find where it talks about sperm.
Going at it in what way? Because
hang on, we gotta Google this. Is eating sperm vegan friendly?
I've put the fucking PETA one in the chat, and I'm about to post the Men's Health one in the stream chat. In the
Men's Health.
I told you.
If she won't touch animal products, should semen also be off the menu? This should be a yes or no question.
No one is harmed in my blowjobs.
The Vegan Society, the Supreme Court of Meat Non-Eating, whose founder Donald Watson coined the word vegan in 1944, is a strict neutral on the actions of consenting adults, according to Representative Samantha Calvert. Veganism relates explicitly to non-human animals. Okay, so I guess it is okay to eat sperm when you're a vegan.
Like I said, it's from our species.
Yeah.
So that means vegans are okay with the long pig then.
Sure.
That does not surprise me.
That word.
That word.
Somebody say it.
I see Abaddon, the Despoiler, and Chaos Eve are both in the waiting room. Should we rotate them in?
Yeah, I don't mind. I can leave if you want.
Alright. Abaddon just muted himself, so I'll pull Eve in, because I feel like Eve has an opinion on this. Eve, you're on with me. Eve, how are you, my dear?
I'll hop out.
And then Abaddon, I'll pull you into who wants to take one for the team.
I can step out as we go.
I want to hear what Abaddon has to say, because
very nice to have me on again.
Thank you for coming on. I'm sorry that you never got the chance to duke it out with Frank Man.
Oh, I still have the questions written down.
Oh, hang on, Abaddon needs to wait a little bit. He needs to take care of something. So you got a few minutes.
Okay. But this 17-point plan, I've been reading through it as we've been going over this discussion. It's just, this really doesn't have anything to do with the concept of cuckoldry. It's more about, the female domination angle and the sissy factor, which is its own genre. Because there's nothing, I have yet to read anything about, okay, now this is how you introduce the third party. So it's, or at least unless I have not read that.
We haven't even gotten into the introduction of the third party yet. We've just been talking about sissification of the man.
I think arguably that's the objective in this. With this core article.
Here's an actual cuckold right here, and this is from March 10th, 2019. So this is fairly recent. Wesley Paris. We're gonna read his response, alright? My wife cuckolds me, and she was the one who brought it up. Basically, she started slow. She flashed other guys in front of me, gave them friendly social kisses, let them slap her ass. At this point, I absolutely would have been against being cuckolded. Then she went on a date to dance with a guy friend, and told me she was going to let him hold her ass during slow songs. She tried on different dresses in front of me and kept asking me how her ass looked. She began dancing burlesque as well, and I had to watch some risque performances. One of them included a guy kissing her boobs. Her social kisses were being held a lot longer. At first my rule was pecks only, then she started to give several pecks until I caved and she started giving her guy friends long kisses. Then my rule became no tongue, and she asked if she could use the tip of her tongue, and I said that was okay. Soon she flat out made out with another guy in front of me. When we were finally engaged, she asked me who I'd have sex with if she gave me freedom for a night. I told her my celebrity crush, and she told me it would be the same guy she went to the dance with. She started pushing the conversation a little bit more. Eventually, I caved, and they had a one-night stand. Long story short, she turned up the heat gradually. Okay, so here we have an actual, like, in-depth response, or not in-depth response, but this is nice and concise. I like that it's concise. I don't like that it's...
The 17-point plan?
The 17-point plan is too long.
We need to make that a hashtag, 17-point plan.
Okay, if you want more women to cuckold their husbands, you have to simplify it, alright? No more of this 17-point nonsense. I'm making a new rule.
It seemed like...
Now that hang on. I kind of want... I'm having a bad idea. I'm having a really bad idea. So you guys remember that video that I made, the 14-point plan to save the white race?
Uh-oh. It's got a sequel?
The 17-point plan to cuckold your husband.
But the other thing is that we're, just as it reads where I caved, I mean, I don't read that last line, she turned up the heat gradually. I don't read that at face value. I read that as in, yeah, she increased the arsenic in my morning coffee.
It sounds like
until the job was done.
Well, yeah, it sounds more like the foot in the door phenomenon, you know, when you gradually, okay, so you know that on the okay, so this is a psychology term that if you're not familiar with it, where essentially the person that is trying to convince you of a thing gradually gets you to agree more and more with things from a very minimum point to, oh, you know, I do need this $40,000 car payment. So the idea is a door-to-door salesman shows up to your house. He knocks on the door and, you know, he asks for a glass of water. You let him into the house, give him a glass of water. Then you start having a conversation and he's telling you about what he does. And then he asks for maybe like a mint. And so you give him a mint because it's no skin off your back. It's fine. And then you keep talking, and he's telling you about his product, and then he asks you for a cup of coffee. So you make him a cup of coffee. You go out of your way to pour the water into the cup of, you know, the coffee maker. You put the grinds in. You make it not decaf. You make it the good shit, full strength caffeine. And then he asks you for cream and sugar, maybe some Irish whiskey, because you're having a good time. He's gonna be here for a while. You can tell because he's a salesman or whatever. So you give him the coffee with the Irish cream in it. Then a little bit later, you know, it's dinner time. And he asks if maybe he can stay for dinner and help sell you on the product, or maybe talk to your husband about it too. So you're like, all right, cool. Yeah, you can stay for dinner. I made enough food for everyone. It's no skin off my back. I've already given him some coffee. He's been here for a while. Least I could do is just feed him. And then from there, eventually gets to the point where he asks you if you wouldn't mind buying his $300 vacuum that you don't need, even though you already have a vacuum. Yeah, sure. I mean, he's already spent all of his time here. You know, we've already spent so much time conversing. It's just $300. It's no big deal. But gradually, they are building
relationship.
They are building up a working relationship. They're building up that rapport. They're building up that idea of, well, I've already done this for him. It's no biggie if I do this next thing. And that's how they get you from, I absolutely would not be a cuckold, to, fuck yeah, you can cuck me.
That's just, you know, the historical phrase for that is the thin end of the wedge, or the camel's nose is under the tent, or for every inch they take 10 miles.
Mm-hmm.
If you give a mouse a cookie.
Alright, I see we got 2 people in the waiting room, so
for me, it comes as the old school way to finesse somebody. Like, say, I'm taking it to the criminal world. If you're gonna rob somebody, you're not just gonna walk up straight up like, "Yo, give me all your change or whatever." It's gonna be a little bit easier if you're like, you know what? He may have a couple $100s in his pockets, but he's got a lot of jewelry and shit at his house. You befriend the guy. Slowly but surely, you push the boundaries. Oh, can't do that. Take 3 steps back, wait a little bit. Try that again, then it works.
It's the art of convincing someone to do what you want them to do.
I
just laid it out for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like they're being sized up as a mark.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Berserker, Roundhammer, do you mind if I grab Abaddon and the... Oh, Berserker already left. So I guess he doesn't mind. But Roundhammer, do you mind if I grab Abaddon and LCP?
Not a problem at all. So
all right,
to finish out, thank you again. Hopefully we can do this again sometime because this is fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I have no life. Therefore, I will see you next on Side Quest.
Of course. The Ufio answer in the chat says, isn't that just grooming? It's a form of grooming, yeah. And so I'm going to get LCP in and Abaddon the Despoiler in, and hopefully you guys are ready to bring your conversational sides, even though we only have about 9 minutes left until the actually, even less time. Abaddon, can you mute me?
I have the stream muted.
Okay. I'm hearing feedback.
I'm sorry, give me 1 second. That's probably my audio routing.
No, I don't see that from you. It's coming from Abaddon mostly. Are you using text-to-speak, Abaddon?
No.
Okay. Maybe it's just picking up extra stuff. That's fine. It's not a big deal. But did you guys have anything that you wanted to add to this?
One, this reminds me way too much of a cow.
You're cutting in and out, Abaddon.
I'm gonna hop out, Weebs. I don't really have anything to add to this particular topic. So.
Alright, then I'm gonna pull Jacob in.
This topic reminds me far too much of a certain lol cow.
Which locale? Hi, Jacob.
Chris Chan.
I'm not overly familiar with Chris Chan. If you would give me like a 10-word summary on the matter, would you? That would be swell.
Degenerate?
Degenerate.
Yeah, that is part of it. Degenerate who made his own Pikachu Sonic hybrid comic thing.
That sounds like a lot.
Yes,
You'd
basically picture the most cancerous parts of, say, My Little Pony Steven Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then make it a retard.
Claims to be a woman.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yes, and there's a wiki about him. If you want to lose faith in humanity, just look up Chris Chan wiki.
I think I'll do that later. Right now we're talking about cuckolding itself.
Well, I've lived in both Europe and Africa. I lost faith in humanity. Just because of that.
Mm-hmm. How the fuck do you not know about Chris Chan? I might know about him. Chris Chan is like a name on its own. I need a face to put to the name. Link me to something that has to do with it over on Twitter, if you would. But we already have... Look at this. We have an anonymous response from March 12th, 2019. That's 2 days ago now. So let's read this, too. And then I think I'm going to close it out because, yeah, after that we'll have, like, a few minutes for closing remarks and what have you. Let's leave off on this. A lot of good answers. Our friends were into this. They were always saying how happy they were and never had any fights. We were shocked but interested. One night, we went over to their house and a man came over. Debbie got up and kissed him and told us this was Tony, their bull. She was kissing him and he was undressing her in front of us. My husband said we better go and Debbie told us to sit down. Tony was here to do me next. Paul and Debbie's husband told us to watch how a real bull treat. I think this is a Poe. I think this is a Poe.
Sounds kind of like it.
It sounds like a Poe. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Alright, so then I guess, yeah, no, this is linked in the description if you guys want to go check out this lovely Quora conversation that everyone is having. You can, by all means, go do that. It's an interesting thing. I accidentally stumbled across it. Thank you, Balak, for that lovely experience. It was a ride.
Balak is a good boy who did nothing wrong.
He gave me the information for this, so we're just gonna X out of that. And yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do next week, but I'll figure it out at some point.
And that's now going to appear on your search history and related suggestions.
Oh boy. So, does anyone have any last closing remarks that they'd like to include? Anything that they'd like to talk about?
Yep. I don't remember where exactly I had seen it. I know it was on Tumblr, but this is where I got the information that.
Of course, it's Tumblr.
Yeah, I know. Of course, it's Tumblr, but that's where I stumbled across the idea that this is probably a pervasive element of Islam trying to take over. It sounds a bit conspiracy theory-ish, but it does kind of feed into extremist Islam.
I'm looking at the thing that someone posted in the stream chat, and it's just all of the search results. Would you ever think of cuckolding your boyfriend, husband? Why is my husband dad gay? He likes my husband. Do you ever like a cuckold situation? How was your husband? Who is the husband of Yami? Who the fuck is Yami? Anyway. Anyway. Jacob, I know you didn't mean to disconnect. Do you have any last words? Because I noticed you've been in the chat the whole time. And he left! Oh, bye. Whatever. It's fine. Alright. So, we're about 4 minutes out. I'm gonna end it. Unless anyone's got anything extra they want to add. I'm gonna go wash my eye sockets out.
Don't eat your jizz, because it'll turn you into a cock.
I'm gonna call my boyfriend, tell him I love him.
Just remember, when you wash out your eyeballs, do not use the hard side of the scrubbing pad.
Alright, use the hard side of the scrubbing pad. Got it.
Don't!
Anyway.
Use the hard side, Weebo. It'll get it extra clean.
Yep, extra clean. Yeah, I think he is having trouble. Jacob, we'll get you on next week, alright? I don't know what we're talking about next week, but we're gonna make it interesting, entertaining. Now, without further ado, here's the outro screen. Bye, everybody. Thank you, panel, for coming on and joining me, and thank you, chat, for being here, and thank you to the people who donated as well, because without you,
Weebo would be poor.
I would just be talking to myself.
Isn't that, you mean like a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, thank you for the fact that I figured out all technical difficulties. That's a good time. Oh yeah, don't forget the bleach. I will not forget the bleach. So, outro screen. Bye, everybody.
Hey.
But if there is